BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia at heart and from around the globe. And hello, Nedheads. Hello, Black Box Battalion. Today's Tuesday. Welcome to this special bonus episode of Black Box Online Radio. And today's episode is partially sponsored by Michael Cole, a friend of the show and the author of the Zodiac Revisited trilogy. If the Zodiac case fascinates you, be sure to check out the Zodiac Revisited. It's a deep dive into the mystery with a unique and interesting perspective. The trilogy is available on Amazon, Spotify, and wherever you get your favorite true crime books. And if you enjoy the series, please consider helping out Michael by leaving a 5-star review. And yes, today's episode is going to be some new material for the channel. As you just heard from that little intro segment, I talk a lot about true crime here on Black Box Online Radio. Every Monday I talk about the Zodiac Killer, every Wednesday about Jack the Ripper, and every Friday about D.B. Cooper. But today, there is a different type of episode going on, where I will be discussing some comments that were made by an individual named Robin Dreeke, who worked with the FBI Behavioral Analysis Program. And Robin Dreeke is the author of the book, It's Not All About Me. And if you are curious about any of the subjects here on BBOR, I invite you to hit the like button and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. But the way that I found this book is kind of different, because over the last 12 months, I've become more infatuated with FBI profiling and criminal profiling, and I read books about that, such as Killing for Sport by Pat Brown, who is more of an independent and self-taught profiler. I've also talked a lot, though, about a more renowned FBI profiler, John Douglas, and he is the co-author of the book The Cases That Haunt Us, which turned into multi-part discussions here on Black Box Online Radio last year. And most recently, I looked at Paul Rowland's book, Killer Psychopaths, and they are all sharing their perspectives on the subject. So because I read these types of books, Amazon recommended one to me called It's Not All About Me, and this is a social skills book. And at first, I was just like, okay, well, this is just a book written by somebody who worked with the FBI Behavioral Analysis Program for 27 years and has shared the observations. But the reason why I'm talking to you about this now for Black Box Online Radio is, get this, it actually wasn't bad. I'm somebody who had to learn social skills the hard way. I've never been diagnosed with autism, but I empathize with people who have. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I empathize with people who have. Where it's like being put into a social situation and you have no idea what to do. And if you just try to do things that you've learned from other social situations, they don't work in all the contexts. You're just trying to do normal things like making eye contact and shaking someone's hand and trying to have a conversation, yet somehow, some way, everybody just seems bothered by the way that you're talking and looking. Social skills are something that you have to learn. That's why they're called skills. I mean, that's my take on it anyway. And I've said this for like 20 years now, that social interaction is a human skill. Some people are naturals, other people learn very quickly, and then there are people like me who just had to learn from the ground up. But I think the biggest reason why I'm making this episode here on Black Box Online Radio is because I've read through a lot of articles and I've watched a lot of videos about this subject, and most of the time, people give terrible advice. Like, say, for example, I read this one article once where a woman was saying, be happy, be passionate, be joyous. Walk into a room with a giant smile on your face and let your light shine. That is terrible advice. That's what you call mental masturbation, where it's something that is very emotional, and it's meant to trigger emotions in a person, but that isn't actually something that's going to help you. Go ahead, try that. Try that. Walk into a room and just start being outwardly and conventionally happy. Walk in with a giant smile on your face and start being loud. Some people might like it. Other people are really going to be bothered by that, especially if they do not know who you are previously. And even if they do end up liking your behavior, usually it's because of a different reason. They're just pre-choosing you because of your physical appearance, or maybe they know something about your status. So with Robin Dreeke's material, it goes at it in a different way because it actually provides step-by-step things that people can do to improve social skills. And before I read a book, I often like to check out the reviews. I like to look at interviews with the author, and of course the free sample from Kindle. But there is an interview that was posted with Robin Dreeke on bakadesuyu.com. That's what it's called, Bakadesuyu. And this is called How to Get People to Like You. And I don't even really want everyone to think of it that way. These are more of just like, how do you interact in social situations? How do you have a conversation with someone? How do you spend time with other people? And believe it or not, a lot of us struggle with this concept. I told you guys I happen to be one of them. And I think the reason why was because I would see some people behaving a certain way, but then when I would try to behave that way, people would get bothered by it. And I'm like, well, why is that? I mean, if person A is allowed to do that, why isn't person B? And there are things like social status, hierarchies. There are also things like expectations that people have, preconceived notions, preconceived ideas that people would have about your behavior. And sometimes, individuals can have a certain acceptance from one person and a different type of acceptance from another person. But the things that Robin Dreeke has shared are really more focused on just overall, how do you get along when you're trying to interact with someone in a social environment? Point number one. This is really just point number one that has been shared by Robin Dreeke. Don't judge anyone. Nobody likes to feel judged. And that is one thing, though, that I think is very important. Even if you have some type of expectation or you do not like what someone has said, judging them as, good or bad is not the way to make a good first impression, especially when you're dealing with someone in a coworker themed situation. But if we're going to talk about coworkers, perhaps one of the best things that I've ever heard is, if you want to succeed at work, then work. I'll say it again. If you want to succeed at work, then work. That is like the most valuable piece of advice that I've ever heard, because I kid thee not, when I've had problems in the workplace, 85%, maybe 90 or 95% of the problems have been when coworkers were talking about something that was not work related, or coworkers were doing something that was not work related, and it got out of control. If you want to succeed at work, then work. And I mean, I'm really not downplaying it at all. It's always that somebody's, trying to do some type of thing that's joking around, fun and games, and then it gets messy. Now, the next one is suspend your ego. And this one is a little bit more difficult to digest, because it's more about when people hear things that contradict their beliefs, the logical part of the brain shuts down and their brain prepares to fight. And what I think this is talking more about is just that if somebody says something that is incorrect, you don't have to correct them. And these points are all written out. Want to correct someone? Want to one-up them with your own clever story? Don't do it. And again, this is about getting along with people and interacting in social environments, because if you do not know the person that well, and then they make a comment about a TV show or a sports game or a comic book or something like a true crime case, and you know something that they don't, and then you just try to one-up them with a correction, that creates a rift or barrier in the social dynamic. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, if someone says something that's most blatantly false, can you correct them? Yes, but this is about how you get along with people, not about how you square up for some type of argument and so on. Now, the next point here is how to be a good listener. Stop thinking about what you're going to say next and focus on what they're saying. Be curious about what you want to hear. Don't interrupt, don't disagree, and don't evaluate. Nod your head and make acknowledging comments like yes and uh-huh. Without being awkward, repeat the gist of what they're saying in a timed sequence. Inquire and ask questions to show that you've been paying attention. The only one I disagree with here is, without being awkward, repeat the gist of what they say. That really is quite difficult, because if you knew how to avoid awkwardness, you probably wouldn't need to learn social skills manually. And I often find that when people repeat the gist of what someone says back to you, then it shows that they are paying attention, but to me that also shows that they're just emotionlessly regurgitating what they say. This is one of the things that I actually really disagree with here. on this list. But other than that, though, I think that that is pretty fair. Acknowledge what someone else is saying, and also, I mean, show that you are engaged in the discussion. And I think that a very, very big thing, though, that is shared on Robin Dreeke's list is, what do you do when someone is hogging the conversation? What do you do when someone is talking so much and not letting you get a word in? And this is another motivating reason why I wanted to make this episode. And that was because it's talking about how somebody might be running their mouth nonstop. They have that type of motor mouth where they don't let you get a single word in the conversation. And are you just supposed to sit there and listen? And what happened to me in the past was, it's like, well, where's the fairness in this? Where's the appropriateness in this? I mean, when somebody is just talking nonstop and they're just not even showing an ounce of empathy. Number one, you could just walk away and say, whatever, I don't care. But if you want to maintain the balance, then you can tell yourself silently, I'm thinking something, but I'm not going to say it. And I think that is actually pretty solid. Because if you're thinking something, but you don't get a chance to say it, you're going to feel like you've been cheated. You're going to feel like someone has mistreated you. But if you consciously choose to say, I'm thinking something, but I'm not going to say it, then you've taken the situation into your own hands. And the next one here on the list is the best question to ask people. We all face challenges and we all like to talk about them. So what's this all about? A great question to get people talking is, what kind of challenges did you have at work this week? And what this means is that you can ask an open-ended question with, what kind of challenges did you have living in that part of the country? What kind of challenges do you have raising teenagers? And you ask somebody about the type of challenges that they've had, and that is a method to get someone to talk more. Again, this is some fascinating stuff, because there's so many resources out there that do not tell you specifically what you can use to employ in your personal life. Most of the things that are related to self-help psychology are just like, be confident. And I think it was around 2012 or 2013 when I decided that some people are just saying the word confident because it's the only word that they know with 3 syllables. Be confident. How about telling somebody how to do this? I remember back when I was taking music lessons, and I was learning to play the piano, actually, and I was struggling with a particular type of technique, and I asked the piano teacher, how do I improve with this? And the teacher just said, practice it 87,000 times. And I'm like, okay, how about telling me how? Show me which mistake I'm making exactly. I mean, you're supposed to be the expert. You're the one getting paid money for this. If you're making a mistake and you don't know where the mistake is, you could just be making the same mistake 87,000 times. And I know that a lot of people are just going to grow out of their mistakes, but not everyone does. And this is why I'm talking to you about this stuff. Sometimes you have to learn very, very slowly, and you actually have to learn with a step-by-step plan of action. Okay, now, if you don't know exactly what mistake you're making, you're just going to keep making that same mistake over and over again. And I was so disappointed when I heard the psychologist Jordan Peterson openly say, oh, if you're an agreeable person, why don't you just try and say no, bucko? Tell him, no, I'm not doing that. And I was so surprised that he would say that, because he openly describes himself as an agreeable person. And if you're an agreeable person, like me, I'm high in trait agreeableness, I'm low in extroversion, meaning I'm an introvert, and I'm also dopamine-centered. I do things that fuel my own excitement. And you can't. If you're an extremely agreeable person, you can't just say no. That's the entire problem. If you could just say no, then you would. When someone does something that you didn't anticipate, you just go blank, and then you go along with whatever it is that they have tried to tell you. And I found that this is a very, very big challenge. So when someone is actually trying to put forward things that allow you to learn social skills and actually tells you techniques that you can use, it's so valuable because, let's say, for example, so you want someone to talk more to you, you can ask them this question. What kind of challenges have you faced with whatever area that you are dealing with? If you want someone to just go along with you and maintain the balance and they're talking too much, then you tell yourself, I'm thinking something, but I'm not going to say it. And I mean, I just like it when there are actual strategies that can be used. Now, here's one, though, that's very important for people who have problems with social interaction, people who have problems making other people feel comfortable while they're talking to them. Point number 5 is how to make strangers feel at ease. Tell them that you only have a minute because you're headed out the door. And this is, again, something that's trying to get people to relax around you. And according to Robin Dreeke's 27-year study in the FBI Behavioral Analysis Department, when people think that there is a fixed time limit for the conversation, they will feel more comfortable. And it's like when you tell somebody, oh, I'm in a rush, I only have 1 minute, or I have a meeting that's going to start in 1 minute, and the person knows that they only have 60 seconds to talk, they will get to the point, they will feel comfortable, and they will interact with you. Now, my father had a coworker once, and he tells a story all the time about how the coworker did this in the exact opposite version. It said whenever he would leave his desk, he would set his watch with a 5-minute timer. And, he's going to the bathroom, he's going to the coffee machine, the water cooler, and that way he made himself feel more comfortable. Where, so if someone was trying to trap him in a conversation, if someone was just trying to get his attention for more than the allotted time, then his watch would start beeping. He's like, oh, I got to take care of this, and he would walk away. Now, some of you might be thinking that that's deceptive, and it is somewhat deceptive, but at the same time, that is a strategy that you can use. I mean, it's something that, once again, allows you to feel comfortable. If you give somebody else the time frame, hey, you have a meeting that's starting in 1 minute, then that allows them to feel comfortable. I am fully open to using techniques if they are actually successful. Now, the next point here is something that I also think is very valuable, and that is that what is the best body language for building a rapport? And point number 1, you gotta smile. And one thing that held me back so much in life is people would tell me that I didn't smile when I was talking to them. And the honest answer was, well, I didn't want to. Sometimes when you have co-workers or classmates, you are forced into a group of people that you really don't like too much, or you would never be interacting with them if they weren't your classmates or your co-workers. And they can see it on your face sometimes as you don't actually want to be there. But not only do you have to smile, but you have to show your teeth when you're smiling. And people in the world of sales and business talk about this all the time. They say it, you have to show your teeth when you're smiling. Point number 2. Keep your chin down, but keep your eye level straight. I love the technical stuff in this. Keep your chin down and keep your eye level straight, because it's not like you're looking down your nose at somebody, and it's not like you're looking up and not paying attention. Keep your chin down and your eye level straight. Now, here is a great one. Do not give a full frontal form of body language, a full frontal, full body display. When you're talking to someone, you can also make them more comfortable by standing side to side, shoulder to shoulder. And this is less confrontational. So says some people. And I mean, I've even seen this in like dating and pickup tutorials online. It's part of the mystery method, actually, standing side by side with someone. And that allows them to feel more comfortable. Now, other people have tried to challenge this by showing that you don't actually have to do that. You can say anything to people if you have the appropriate type of body language and the appropriate tone of voice. This one guy on YouTube was challenging this exact concept by walking up to girls face to face and just saying, hey, fuckhead, and having a conversation with them. And the explanation was that if you are saying it in a certain way and your body is composed in a certain way, it won't make people feel uncomfortable. And I think that that just would be something that's definitely an advanced level. That's like what Steve the Dean would say is trying to talk about trigonometry before you know how to count. I mean, I wouldn't even do that to somebody. And now we also have one here is use open, nonverbal communications where do not use things like using your arms to cross your body, do not use things such as holding something in front of you, leaning against a wall or a table, and again, doing this when you are at either a side view, standing shoulder to shoulder. If the other person is standing in a certain way, then you don't have to directly look them face to face directly in the eye. Keep your eye level down and your chin down, but stand and to the side of them so it makes it look less confrontational. I think that this actually is something that could be used in daily life. And this is one here that says, how to deal with someone you don't trust. Now we're finally getting to some real powerful stuff here, and it's called, this blog is not called Helpful Tools for Sociopaths. I'm not trying to teach you how to manipulate others, but what should you do when you feel that someone is using methods to try and manipulate you? And be aware of this. The most frequent method that will be used is just intimidation. When you're like, oh no, I really don't have time for that. And someone's like, I need you to do that now. When someone is just trying to force their particular agenda on you, and they want you to go along with it, just simply by being more aggressive, by not backing down, by trying to take advantage of someone else's agreeable nature. So, let's look at this. The first thing that you do is clarify your goals and say, you're throwing a lot of good words at me. Obviously, you're skilled at what you're doing, but I'm really curious about blank. What's your goal? What are you trying to achieve? I'm here with my goals, but obviously you have to achieve your goals. So if you can just tell me what your objectives are, we can start from there. And watch for validation. So I think what this means is that if you think that someone is trying to manipulate you, call them out on that. When you're saying that when someone's trying to dump their work off on you, you say, I have a lot of things that I'm trying to do, and I can tell that there's something that you're thinking about. What is your objective for trying to get me to do this task? My objective is to do this, this, and this, and perhaps you can do that, that, and that yourself. And it's just it's about trying to show the other person that you're completely aware that they're trying to intimidate you. You're completely aware that they're trying to take advantage of you. And sometimes people are going to be a lot more subtle. Sometimes people are actually going to be playing mental chess with you. And if you expose them for trying to play mental chess instead of being a good-hearted person, then their game is over. The way to win that game is not to play. So, to sum up, the single most important thing is to be non-judgmental. Suspend your ego. Focus on them. Really listen. Don't just wait to talk. That's the one that says that you tell yourself, I'm not going to say it right now. This person's talking a lot. No, don't judge them. And you tell yourself, I have something to say, but I'm not going to say it. And then ask people what's been challenging them. I love that. It's an open-ended question, and it gets them to talk more. Establish a time constraint to put other people at ease. Smile, put your chin down, and blade your body, meaning that just means don't get them full frontal. And if you think someone is trying to manipulate you, clarify your goals. And once again, these are all from Robin Dreeke. I think that this is some fairly good stuff. I said, though, that I completely disagreed about rephrasing what someone is saying in a conversation because I actually think that comes across as very insincere. But I would love to know what you guys think about any of these statements that have been mentioned here in this episode. And I know that this is some different things for Black Box Online Radio. It's more similar to my other channel, Astro Psych 400, that I used to run. I used to talk about a lot of psychological things over there, as well as a host of other subjects. But the final thing that I will leave you with is, you might hear this online from some of those self-help gurus out there, and they will say, you don't grow from pleasure, you grow from pain. I cannot tell you how many times that I've heard that. Or sometimes people will tell you, you either respond to pleasure or you respond to pain. That's it. Do not let people force you into false dichotomies. Absolutely not. Because here's something else that I heard that I found to be much, much superior. And that is, you don't grow from pleasure. You don't grow from pain. You grow from optimized strategies. It's the exact same issue that I had back in piano class. All right, well, I'm making mistakes that you're just telling me practice more. How about showing me where I'm making the mistakes so I can avoid those? I mean, optimized strategy. Do you really grow from pain? The drug addict who's sleeping under a bridge in December or January is probably experiencing a lot of pain. They're not growing. If anything, their life is getting worse. And somebody who is doing the exact opposite, some type of trust fund baby who's living in a mansion and has never had to work a day in his life, is also not growing from pleasure. You don't grow from pleasure or pain. You grow from optimized strategies, from knowing what steps to take. Taking action without a strategy leads to demoralization because you're just going to be taking shots in the dark. This is the reason why I'm talking to you about this right now. So many of these things online will tell you this stuff about, oh, well, the way that you have to interact with people is you have to just be nice and other people will be nice to you. No, absolutely not. And one of the reasons why I really connected with Robin Dreeke's material was it's telling you very specific things that you can use. Like when you're having a conversation, tilt your body this way, move your face this way, and allow the other person to talk somewhat. And to be clear, let's also end on a concluding note. That doesn't mean you have to be a pushover. That doesn't mean that you have to just let someone walk all over you. I know the first 3 points may have come across that way. What I think the real focus of those were is that you can get along with someone. This is all about making people comfortable and expressing yourself and allowing them to express themselves, and that being the goal of your social skills. Whereas, if you're just trying to have a conversation with someone and you're noticing that they're getting bothered, maybe it's because they're not responding to your body language and facial features, the thing about smiling, the thing about the way that where your eyes are looking. And also, always trying to get a word in and to talk in a one-upping time of way. Oh, this is what you did? Well, this is something better. You might actually know that, but there are two things that you can do. You can just sort of be like running your mouth and making people feel bad, or you can use and employ social skills. And that's my ultimate takeaway from this. And I'm fully aware that not everyone's going to respond perfectly to this. I don't even think these methods are perfect. I openly told you I completely disagree with that thing about rephrasing what someone has said back to you. It's called active listening. I'm familiar with it, but I don't think it works. What do you think about anything that has been mentioned here? What do you think about the subject? What do you think about anything that has been discussed? And, you can get Robin Dreeke's book on Amazon, and you can also just look out for some of the other episodes on Black Box Online Radio, where I talk a lot about true crime, criminal psychology, and exploring the dark side of cyberspace. My name is Black Box Ned. And this show comes to you Monday through Friday, as well as with short episodes, also coming out Monday through Friday, that are released on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. On TikTok and Instagram, my name is blackboxonlineradio, and if you want to support all of these efforts, you can go over to buymeacoffee.com, buymeacoffee.com/blackboxonlineradio, and that allows you to make a donation or contribution to help support the show. And anybody who makes a donation will get a shout out on Zodiac Monday. And I'll see you tomorrow for an episode about Jack the Ripper. Until next time.